But at 50, I feel better than I have in my entire life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back to Wellness Wednesdays, where we talk about all things wellness and exactly what it means to be well. Today, I'm so excited because we have Jim Shager joining us, and today we're going to be talking about being super busy in the world of real estate and still prioritizing your health and fitness. We are not dietitians or nutritionists. We are just sharing our experiences. So, Jim, tell me about a time where you decided to prioritize your health and fitness.
So it's always been a priority of mine. And I did boot camp and CrossFit, all that, and leading up to my about 40 years old, I was doing mud runs, and my back gave out, and I went a few years where I really didn't take care of myself. Just I was hurt, and and you get out of the habit, and then during COVID, really, I decided I had gained. One thing, I guess, just to go back a little bit, I've always been active, but I was 100 pounds heavier.
Okay.
About 15, 16 years ago, I lost the weight, and during COVID, the first 2 weeks of COVID, I think I gained 15 pounds, and I was probably 230 pounds.
Okay.
And, I decided then and there that, I wasn't going to sit around the house and eat.
Yeah.
So I sort of rekindled my fitness journey. So it's been 4 or 5 years now, and I am now, I weigh 170 pounds. So I've lost about 60 pounds from the first couple of weeks of COVID. What's really, I guess I have a house in Florida where the median age is 69 years old.
Okay.
And it's very eye-opening to see how people get around down there. They're alive, but they don't get around well.
Okay.
And the common denominator is weight.
Okay.
Like you got all the problems that you get with getting older, and I'm 50 now, so I feel that. And everything is magnified by weight. And I think, like for me, losing 60 or 70 pounds, and you think like if you pick up a bag of dog food and it's 50 pounds, and it's all you can do to like move it from one room to the other, and then to think about walking around all day
with that extra 50 pounds on you. Yeah.
So it was a kick in the butt for me to see how many people had mobility issues, and realizing that there's a really good chance that I'm going to live a long life, but what's that quality going to be like? So I decided to take that into my own hands and be responsible for making sure that was a
Okay, so when you say 2 weeks into COVID, now when COVID hit, I think a lot of people gained weight. So you decided right then and there, like, okay, you saw the pattern, you saw the habit, and you were like, no, we're going to cut this off right now.
Exactly.
And you jumped right into it. So what were some of the things that you did to incorporate a healthier lifestyle?
For starters, I walked. A lot of walking, running. Actually, I've always been a runner. So I picked up running again a little bit. We have a really nice home gym. So started using that, hitting that every day. And the biggest thing was just food choices.
Okay.
A good friend of mine is my physician, and he's very blunt. He said two things. Number one, your life expectancy is about 80% baked in.
Okay.
So how you take care of yourself kind of determines whether you buck that trend or not.
Okay.
And
so you just went right into it, like.
Well, it just hit me, and especially at this age, and this is along with all of my other. Part of my fitness journey has been coming to terms with the backside of my life.
Okay.
Because up till now, I've always felt like I could do anything I set my mind to. But I realized that, I've probably got 10 years where, like, no matter how determined you are, there's going to be certain things that your body's just not capable of anymore.
Okay. So you're feeling like the pressures of like a clock, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to make sure that I am doing my best job to get to there.
Okay.
And but back to that point, the other side of that is fitness. Well, I shouldn't say fitness, but your weight is 80% food and 20% working out. And a lot of people, I think, make the mistake of thinking that if they work out, and I see people at the gym all the time.
Yeah.
These guys with these big, huge arms and chests and these big beer bellies.
Yeah.
So and they're
focusing
a lot
on
of them,
working
and they
out.
make this mistake. They lie to themselves and say, "Oh well, I need to eat a lot to build muscle." But really, like most people you're better off, especially when you get to a certain age. The less you're carrying around, the better.
Yeah.
And that is really determined by your food choices. So
Okay.
at COVID, when that started, first 2 weeks, you're just bored eating, and you're
Yes.
eating all the snacks. So we made a decision in our household to sort of eliminate that. If you don't have them in the house, you can't eat it.
This is true. This is true. So when you talk about people not prioritizing their food and thinking that you can just work out, and if you do all the workouts and if you lift all the weights, then you'll be fit. But then people have the beer bellies and everything. So what were some of the foods that you made sure that you avoided in that time?
Okay, so I have an interesting theory on dieting too.
Okay,
So I'm going to share that with you.
let's get into it.
So I think the first thing that people think about when you hear diet is punishment.
That is true.
I ate too much, so now I have to pay the piper, and I've got to go on this diet and I have to lose this weight. Well, our brains are not wired for pain. So when you're on a diet, and this, how many times do you see this? Like, you got a cruise coming up, and so you try to lose weight so you fit in your bathing
Yes.
suit for the cruise, and then the minute you get on the cruise, you go, okay, now I can let loose,
And
and then
you
you
do.
gain all the weight back
Yes.
on the cruise, and then you
Yes,
never
you
get
do.
back to what you did. So our brains,
That's got to be the most relatable
yeah,
thing.
but people's brains, none of us are wired for pain. We're not wired to stay in pain. So my thought process has always, well, I shouldn't say has always been, but since I've lost this weight, has been that I'm not going to punish myself. So, and most foods, if you think about this, like whatever your favorite food is, let's say it's a cheeseburger. Right now, when I mention the word cheeseburger, a cheeseburger popped into your head and you tasted the cheeseburger that your brain has decided
Right.
is your favorite.
Right.
So you order a cheeseburger from wherever it is. 99% of the time, it doesn't live up to that cheeseburger you had in your head.
This is true.
And nobody, I mean, Survivor, people live on that game show on a cup of rice a day.
Yeah.
So none of us need to eat. We're not hungry.
Right.
We eat because we're bored. We eat because we're trying to fill
Stress
something.
eating,
Right.
emotional
we're filling
eating,
a void.
yeah.
We're doing, food makes us happy.
Yeah.
Gives us some version of pleasure. So rather than deprive myself of that taste of the cheeseburger, I eat the cheeseburger, but I don't go any further than maybe half of it.
Okay.
And I stop the minute I start to feel full, and I wait.
That's smart.
And if 3 or 4 minutes later I want
You want
any
some
more of that
more.
cheeseburger, I'll eat it. But what happens is we chase. It's like, I suspect it's the same with drugs. You chase the feeling,
Yeah. You're
and
chasing
you never
that
get
high.
there, right? And you never get there. And then I'm also, all of our parents, taught us that we had to clean our plate. So for me, even if I go to a fancy restaurant, if I go to Ruth's Chris, I don't order the cheapest steak because I know I'm not getting. I order the steak that I want,
Okay.
and if I eat half of it, then I eat half of it.
I was about to ask, so you take that same strategy and you
Everywhere.
eat half, and then if in a couple of minutes you feel the need to have a little bit more, then you have a little bit more.
Right.
But you're not forcing yourself to eat the entire burger or
Right.
the entire steak because it's in front of you.
Right. And if you, whatever the meal is, if you only eat half of it, it's not nearly as bad for you as.
Yeah.
And in general, if you are, if you're a super athlete, then you really have to drill down on what you're eating. But I think that's one of the, and it might be one of your later questions, but I think there's a neat little symbiotic relationship between food and working out.
Yeah.
Because if you go to that Stairmaster and you get on that thing for 15 minutes and you burn a Snickers bar and you're dying,
Yeah.
it makes you think twice about eating that Snickers
Yeah, it makes
bar.
you think twice about eating that Snickers bar. You're absolutely right
And
about that.
all of the foods that are bad for you, they have an addictive quality to them. And you get that out of your system, then it gets much harder to eat those things. So, like for me now, I actually probably have the reverse problem. I track all of my calories, and most
Okay.
days I don't eat enough.
Okay.
So, which
Yeah.
I'll take. If I at my age and my
Instead of
spot,
overeating.
I would rather, not put on the muscle that I might
Yeah.
want in a perfect world to not end up getting heavy again.
Okay, so I want to dive into your age a little bit because there's a metabolism change.
Sure.
So have you experienced that?
A little bit, but I've always been pretty blessed on that front.
Okay.
But again, the biggest thing, the aid to that is you're not nearly as hungry. At my age, I don't have the desire to eat
Okay.
nearly as much. So now I try to make much better health choices. But the better choices you make, that becomes the food that you crave, not the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And we just make a real concerted effort in my house to make sure that we don't have a lot of things that are going to be bad. And we have a 17-year-old who, he's in great shape now, but I tell him all the time, I said, both his mother and I were heavy 20 years ago. And, we never know it by looking at us now, but we were. And I
Yeah.
said, this is your DNA, this is your genes. So, you got
I
your.
saw a picture
Yeah.
of you, and it
Yeah.
was insanely different.
Yes.
You look a lot younger now and healthier and just more fit. Than
Yeah,
you
I
did
feel
then.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
I shudder to say this, but at 50, I feel better than I have in my entire life.
I love that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
got lots of energy, and I feel like I'm ready for the next 50 years.
Yeah, I love that so much. They say that, well, not they say, it's been proven that Americans just in general overeat. That's
Yeah.
why Americans are some of the most overweight people, obese, morbidly obese
Mm-hmm.
people. So when it comes to overeating, I want to talk about how you forced that habit of just stopping and having the discipline to stop right there instead of just overeating because of the meal being in front of you.
I think we are all too hard on ourselves, and we all think that we should just have the willpower to do these things.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute fact that all the processed foods are full of sugars and chemicals that are addictive. So, like when you eat McDonald's French fries, I think have 19 ingredients.
Which is insane.
It is. French fry doesn't need 19 ingredients.
No, it doesn't.
All of those things are designed to make you crave more.
Yeah.
And want more. And it works.
Yeah, it does.
So I'm just cognizant of that. But the other side of me is, again, I don't want to deprive myself of something. So, like, if we have ice cream cake is one of my favorite things. Well, in the old days, I would eat, half the cake.
Wow. In one sitting?
Yeah, because you're indulging,
Yeah.
but what you realize, like, it's not like the second half is never as good as the first half.
Yeah. The second
you-
half you're just eating because
You're
it's
eating
there.
because it's in front
Yeah.
of you, right? And because part of you doesn't want to throw it away,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So I don't think, and like, especially like at a restaurant, if I go to, like, I don't think about the prime rib is $90 or $80. I'm not paying 80. If I wanted that, I'd go to Aldi
Right.
and cook it at home. If you go to the restaurant, you're not paying for the piece of meat, you're paying for the experience. And so when you accept that and you acknowledge that, then if you eat a third of it or a half of it, and I don't feel guilty about. And this is something else for me, and again, it's just learned over time. I rarely take leftovers home.
Okay.
So, and for me, I don't want to see it, and then I feel guilty. I see it sitting
Yeah.
in my refrigerator. And then, so I'd rather go in your trash at the restaurant that day than in my trash a week later.
That makes sense. Okay. So you've learned to just, like you said, stop right there, keep the stuff out of your
I
house.
don't deprive myself
You
if
don't
I
deprive
feel like
yourself.
having something. But like we cook dinner. That's something else that really helped a lot post-COVID. My son was a travel baseball player.
Okay.
So for most of the year, we were on the road. We were never. So we were always grabbing something quick.
Yeah.
And but for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been cooking at home every night.
Okay.
When I say we,
that
I
makes
mean
a
my
huge
wife.
difference. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not cooking anything. Yeah.
So that makes a huge
Yeah,
difference
and then
because
we
you
can
know what
make-
ingredients
right,
are going
and then
into
we're
your
making
food.
those good choices. And the funny
Yeah.
thing, when you go, like, I don't even care to go out anymore because you realize how much butter
Yeah.
and crap is in
Unnecessary
Yeah.
ingredients. Yeah. So and then like you said, so that's keeping the bad stuff out, prioritizing the experience rather than over consuming.
Right.
Right. Which I think is the key, and I think that a lot of people can take away from that right there. Just enjoying the experience when you have a big plate of food in front of you, because again, in America, our servings are so big,
Yep.
right? So when you have that food, prioritize each bite and enjoying the ingredients rather than feeling the need to finish it,
That's it.
right? And I could see how you can enjoy your meal much better that way. Now, not taking the leftovers home, I think would be a struggle.
Well, but that's honestly, that to me, that's like one of those, like, you're either a leftovers person or
Yeah,
you're not.
you're either leftovers, and a lot of people actually aren't. A lot of people
Right.
don't want to see it in their refrigerator.
But most
They
people
know they
feel
won't
so
heat it up
guilty.
later
Right.
on. Yeah,
That's me. I don't. And number one, like, that prime rib don't taste the same.
no, heat it up
No,
later on.
It doesn't. And so, but that's just a little, like, I don't want to feel guilty about it. That's the big thing for me is, but I think if there's a takeaway from this conversation, just change your relationship with food.
Yeah,
So, and the thing about it, like, we all, anybody that's heavy, certainly, like, we have an unhealthy relationship with food, and it's more than sustenance. So, because like you said, none of us, we're not hungry.
yeah,
We're bored, we're filling a void,
yeah.
whatever it is. So I choose to, like, really, like, I don't look at food as a treat. So I look at it now, like, there's lots of other things I can do and
Yeah.
enjoy doing.
So food is what it's meant to be. It's
Right.
nourishment,
Right.
fuel.
Right. I don't have a giant sweet tooth, but I have one. And so it used to be like a scoop or two of ice cream.
Okay.
Now it's frozen strawberries.
Okay. Yeah, and they make a lot of those frozen fruit treats at the store, but I think if it's that simple, you can just make it at home.
That's what I just have
Chocolate
frozen
covered strawberry,
strawberries. I
for
got a bag of
example.
strawberries and I
Yeah.
put a bunch of them in there and I put some pretzels for like the salty
Yeah.
and sweet. And
When you look at the ingredients and a lot of those healthier dessert options that are fruit at the core of it, you think healthy. You look at the ingredients and it's just not.
Right.
It's just as bad as maybe a bag of chips or something, right? Now I want to go ahead and just dive into your experiences with work. Now you have a team, you have an expansion team, you have a lot of stuff going on in the world of real estate. And then obviously being out and about all the time, being in the office. I want to talk about how you maintain consistency with your, not diet, but just your overall lifestyle.
so I would tell most people, whether you realize it or not, are very routine driven. And there's something very powerful in accepting that. So like I've had the exact same thing for breakfast. I eat a banana, black coffee, and a strawberry Greek yogurt
Okay.
with dry roasted peanuts every morning for probably 10 years now.
How do you not get bored with that?
Well, because it's a routine. I
Okay.
know, like in the morning, like your brain's not functioning yet at
Yeah.
6 o'clock in the morning. So I know, and the other thing, the older we get, our digestive health is really important. And so for me, like I think there's a lot to be said for not switching up your body all the time.
Okay.
If your body knows what to expect in the morning and process, then it keeps you kind of on a routine that way.
Okay.
So my whole life is pretty much routines. And if you look at like Bill Gates and well, not Bill Gates so much, but Steve Jobs and Zuckerberg and all these guys,
Yeah.
they wear the same outfit.
Yeah.
And the idea behind they don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
They
They
wanna
take the
go in
decision making out of it.
because they got enough things to think about. They don't need to worry about what they're going to wear today.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, like most of what I do is some way or another in a routine.
Okay.
So breakfast, I know I'm going to have the breakfast. I know what I'm having for breakfast. I know the coffee I'm drinking. Lunch can be a variable most of the time. We eat dinner at home, and so it might be the time might be a little different, but that's the same. And then one thing I'll tell you too, like with the gym, I plan to go every day. And some
Okay.
people say, "Oh, you need an off day." Well, an off day will find you.
This is true. This
So
is true.
especially in this job, you'll find a reason to have an off
Yeah.
day. And even if I have a day where I'm not feeling, there's always you can do cardio, you can stretch, you can go in the sauna, you can get in the pool. There's things you can do that aren't necessarily lifting weights that still keep you in your routine.
Okay.
So for me, like if you say, "Oh, I'm going to go 3 days a week or 4 days," that gives you too much. It gives too much latitude for life to get in the way.
Okay.
So,
So your success in work and in your
Routines.
health and wellness is routine. Create
Absolutely.
it and just stick with it and allow it to just be a part of your life.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Love that. So let's talk about the gym.
Okay.
Okay. What are you doing in the gym? What does a typical gym routine look like for you?
So I'm generally there for an hour and a half.
Okay. I see your posts. I see when you post. And I'm like, look at Jim getting it. Girl, go to the gym.
Yep.
Go in there. If Jim can be in there, you can be in there. So it's motivating.
Yeah,
It's
thank
motivating
you.
to see it.
It's motivating to me, and I'll be honest. This is the big reason that I post pictures fairly often is Facebook is the best photo storage place in the world.
Yeah.
So because like you put like I don't know, probably like you 25,000 pictures in my phone, and you say, "Oh, I wonder what I look like then."
Yeah.
And then trying to go through your pictures and find that, Facebook will remind you every year.
Yes, it will. This
You get
time
that
last
little
year, you
reminder,
get that
right.
the memory.
And
Yeah.
so for me, when I was in really, really good shape, right before my 40th birthday, I hardly had any pictures. So, and now I want to see like how I look compared to when I was turning 40, and I have very little to compare. So
Okay.
now I kind of look at it as an opportunity to remember.
Okay.
And it's funny if you look back through your pictures, like very few people realize how much they fluctuate and how much much
Yeah.
they change. And so and then because it all sneaks up on you. It's like when you see that friend that you haven't seen in a year
Yeah.
and they gained or lost weight, it's stark. But if you
Yeah.
saw them every day,
If you see them every day, and if you see yourself, you look in the mirror every
Right,
day.
you
You
don't
don't see
notice.
those changes. But then you look at that memory photo from Facebook
Yep.
and you're like, wow. huge
right? And then
difference.
I know for me, like even 30 pounds ago, I'll look at a picture when I thought I was like, man, that's like I'm gonna make that my Facebook profile
Yeah.
picture. And then you look at it and you're like, man, I thought I really looked good there. So I think it's important to sort of document for yourself. And again, everybody's different. Some people need that some people don't need to like see themselves or have a picture, but most of us do. We need some sort of reinforcement. We need some sort of a reminder of what we're doing and why we're doing.
I think especially if you're somebody who you've seen a major change. There's people who their body weight never actually changes that much, maybe just a few pounds or something. And those people I would say no, but for me, I know that my weight fluctuates. You have kids, you have other circumstances, you have things going on.
Sure.
So I think that it is important to track it. Not every day. Like I would never want to be in the mirror. Like when I did 75 hard and you had to take that progress picture, I hated that. I wouldn't want to have to take a picture of myself every single day, but maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, just to see the progress.
This is another thing I really haven't shared a whole lot, but when I have it in my head that I would like to be a personal trainer for old people.
Okay. Define old people, because 50 is not old.
No.
So define old people.
But 50 and above.
Okay.
But because our needs are different, and I think like staying in shape, like I'm still sort of trapped in the mindset of like what I used to do, like lifting heavy weights, and your joints, everything hurts, so you have to like modify.
Wow, that was such great information. Now check out these before and after photos that Jim is sharing. Hopefully it'll inspire you as much as it's inspiring me to just get started and building that routine. Until the next video, be well.